Welcome everybody to Adams Polish's Wednesday live video. Hi Chester. Chester's always one of the first people on here. You know who I haven't seen in a long time? Maybe Chris has, but Anton. If anyone knows where Anton is, let me know.
I think he was there last week.
Anyways, hi to Anton as well. But so last week on Wednesday we were talking about we did the interior glass. And we featured anti-fog, how to use brilliant glaze to remove the fog, not from anti-fog, but the off-gassing fog that is on the inside of your windshield, and then just like some other products that you can use for your interior glass. I really explained, I don't use one single product. I use kind of a collection of products based on what I'm doing in my car. So, if I'm just doing a quick maintenance interior cleaning with Total Interior Cleaner, I'll just use that to clean the glass really quick. I also use detail spray during the washing process. So when I'm drying the car, using it as a drying aid, then touching up the glass. Brilliant glaze when I'm trying to cut through the fog layer from the off-gassing. But pretty informative. And I think if it's something you guys weren't here last week and you want to check it out, just go to our YouTube, go to the live tab, and you can watch that whole video. During that, I kind of gave some people some options because I am going to be paint correcting a 2007 Toyota Tundra, and we were going to do the paint correction on that today to show you guys the paint correction process and sort of like a real life paint correction process, like live. I've never touched this vehicle before, and just show you kind of what my process is as I go through that paint correction process. But it's 17 degrees as a high in Denver right now, in Colorado, and it snowed probably, what, Chris, 2 inches maybe the last couple days. So,
And it's 10 right now. I checked before.
Yeah, it's 10 degrees outside. So because of the conditions outside, I didn't want Twan from Running for Tacos to bring his truck over, it get all dirty, and then I couldn't wash it because it's too cold, right? So I said, let's just save it for next week, and then we're going to flip-flop the live because people requested the paint correction this week. So we're going to push that to next week. And instead, we got this beautiful whiteboard here that we're going to do the ceramic coating whiteboard session or whiteboard discussion. So I'm just going to, full disclosure, I am not a 100% expert on this. I did not invent ceramic coatings. I didn't develop the graphene ceramic coating. I'm giving you the knowledge that I've been taught through my experience and discussions with our chemist, Chris, who was the one who engineered the graphene ceramic coating. So I'm going to give you my best explanation as possible, and probably more from my perspective is less like chemistry as it is functionality and the different ways to use it and why ceramic coatings, are the best protection you can put on your vehicle. Again, it's somewhat of an opinion, but I have some reasons behind that. So I'll be talking about that a lot today. And one thing I do want to say, because this is like a whiteboard discussion, pretend like you're sitting in a classroom right now. Raise your hand, ask questions. I want to make sure I touch on everybody's questions. And again, there's no bad question. The question you ask might be something that someone else didn't think about, but they want to know. So make sure that you're asking questions and things like that. If I know the answer, I'll answer it. If I don't, I'll probably tell you, sorry, I don't know that. I don't know the answer. But yeah.
Like X25 says, any update on the B&B Lending Tour?
Not yet. They're going through some changes over there. So my resources to be able to give us a tour are not there anymore. So I'm kind of waiting till I can get to that point, and I ask them every week, but they're like, this is not a great week. So I'm like, come on, everyone on the live is asking for it. Like, what's your guys' problem, So we'll get there eventually, but still trying to figure that out. So what I want to do first, as far as like the discussion, is I'm going to talk about kind of the evolution of protection for your car. Do you have a question?
Another question?
Sure, yeah.
Kevin Cabrera says, what's your opinion, alcohol wipe down or / coating prep or strip wash before coating?
Oh, that's a good question.
He says after a polishing job.
After, okay.
So if
Who
you polish it,
Yeah.
should you use strip wash or a surface?
who asked that?
Kevin Cabrera.
Kevin Carrera. That's a good question. So Kevin, I'm sure you guys could hear it, but he essentially said after you polish your car is a like surface prep, like alcohol wipe down, okay, or better than a strip wash, or should you just fully strip wash your car? My recommendation is the surface prep alcohol wipe. Okay. The reason being,
Some behind you.
what?
There's a surface prep bottle.
Oh yeah, this is a surface prep, like this. This comes in the actual ceramic coating, this little 4-ounce bottle. The reason why surface prep to me is a better option, there's two reasons behind this, okay? Strip wash is more designed for removing old waxes and sealants, but also like salt and grime and unwanted contaminants that's on your car, okay? Again, it doesn't remove bonding contaminants, but it's more designed for kind of like old protection that's not ceramic coating, but also things that you get from driving your car. Okay, so I will say this, strip wash is a great product to use to wash your car before you go into the polishing process. So that's like the first thing you do is clean your wheels and tires, your engine, whatever. Then use strip wash to foam it onto the car to get a deeper clean on it. Then clay, and then you move on to everything else. But the reason why I like surface prep better is because specifically like this surface prep, there's also other ones in our industry that are pretty good. This is specific to remove essentially like the compound and the polish. Okay, so this has certain surfactants in there that go after that polish and compound, but also the alcohol wipe really makes the surface super clean. And I think for me, this is more efficient because it's just a matter of spraying it on the car and wiping it with a plush towel. When you get into the strip wash process, if you use that, if you don't have like a deionizer or something, you run the risk of getting water spots. So all the work you just did with polishing, you're kind of taking steps backwards if you end up getting water spots. And again, like washing your car, if you don't have a perfectly fresh wash pad, a perfectly clean bucket, now you're into the chance of getting micro scratches. So
You just polished off.
yeah, you just polished off. So like we're under the kind of the way we think about all of this is like efficient steps forward and no steps backwards. And I think that the surface prep with a plush towel wipe that even comes in the kit is like, it's more efficient in the sense that it's a little bit faster than needing to break out your buckets and the foam can and all the stuff, but you're not going to get water spots or damage while you're washing versus just a quick wipe down and then you're ready to go. So I highly recommend surface prep other than strip wash.
Chester wants to know kind of along the lines of this process and order, where does iron remover fit in? Like if you just polish, like at what stage of this?
Yeah, so the iron remover, Chester said, where does iron remover sit in this like whole process of things? So it sits within the washing process. So iron remover is a way, so let me just, I'm just going to write this really quick here. I'll probably erase it, but like, this is like, prep for ceramic coating. I'll just write CC for ceramic coating. Okay. So, you're going to clean your wheels and tires first. I have terrible handwriting right now. Okay. Just bear with me.
Good luck,
So your
everyone.
wheels and tires first, then you do your engine bay. And I think like for me, part of this ceramic coating process is like, it's like a full-on detail of your car, right? So when you're doing a full-on detail of your car, you might as well do wheels and tires and engine, because if you end up focusing on the paint and then you finish ceramic coating it and you're like, oh, I'm done. And then you're like, but my wheels are dirty and my engine's dirty. It's like, you just do everything all in one fell swoop when you do like a big job like this. So it's like 1, 2, 3 is like exhaust tips. Okay. And then you get into the washing process. Okay. Now the washing process can include a lot of different things. First, you're going to remove things that soap can remove. So that's like dirt, grime, salt. If you're using strip wash, at that point, you're removing any old wax that was on your car, any old sealant. And the thing about this too is like, if this is your car and you know what you've put on the car, it gives you a very good idea of like what you need to remove, right? If you're doing this for a client and they bring you your car, they're like, we want you to ceramic coat our car. It's like, you're not going to ask them, okay, how many times have you waxed it? Have you put any sealant on it? They're going to be like, I don't know, right? So like doing a strip wash as your like soap, whether it's through the foam can or in your bucket, I can't use it in the bucket because it like burns my hands. Okay, so not that it's going to do that for everybody, but I think I'm sensitive to the yellow dye in it. Excuse me. But I use the strip wash out of the foam cannon, and then I use regular car shampoo in my bucket. But anyways, I'm just going to write this on here that you're going to do strip wash. Okay, so after you've gone ahead, you set up your bucket, you foam the car down with strip wash, you wash it. After you're done washing it, your car, there's soap still going to be on it. So what I like to do is then I will end up, it depends. Sometimes I do it separate, sometimes I do it at the same time. If I really need to do an iron remover, I go panel by panel. So like I'll do like just the back door, whether that's on a SUV or whether it's on like a sedan. I will only rinse off the part of the back of the car. I take a drying towel and just get the majority of the water off, and then I spray iron remover onto the surface, okay? If you want a reference of this, 2 weeks ago, we did this iron remover process and explained it in more depth. So if you want to go back on the live tab on our YouTube and watch that iron remover process, this is essentially what I'm explaining right now. But anyways, the reason why I do a panel at a time, because I don't necessarily have a deionizer. So if I go and rinse the whole car off, and then I start doing an iron remover process in one section, that means all the hard water is drying on the rest of my car. That's just water spots right off the bat, right? So I work panel by panel. So I'll rinse off the back of the car. I spray iron remover on. I let it do some of the work. It turns purple. All the little purple particle or all the metal particles start to melt from the thioglycolate in iron remover. I spray a little bit more iron remover on. I take a visco clay bar and I clay the surface. So after washing and doing the strip wash, now we're removing bond and contamination. I'm going to write bonded / embedded contamination. Okay? Embedded contamination is iron particles that have embedded itself into your actual clear coat, which iron remover is designed to do that. But what I like to do is use iron remover as a clay lube and an iron removing product, because it does have some lubricity to it where the clay will glide on there. So not only am I removing bonded contamination like paint overspray, tree sap, road tar, and some bonded metal contamination, but it's also removing the embedded contamination, which is essentially like if this was a metal particle, sometimes it sits on the top of the surface like this. Oh yeah, sorry, I can draw. Here, here's iron contamination, right? Iron contamination. Okay, so if this is like the surface of your car, this is like, okay, we'll just go like this, okay. This is like the paint layer. Sorry, this is the clear coat layer. This is the color, paint / color, and then this is like substrate. So we know like substrate can be a lot of different things. If you have a really, really cool car, expensive car, this is carbon fiber. If it's like a standard car, it's probably metal, right? Like steel. So your clear coat, like this, you'll have paint overspray that's like paint spray like this. You'll have tree sap that's like sitting on the surface like this. You'll have road tar that's like sitting on the surface. You'll even have like metal contamination that I'm going to draw like this. It sits on the surface. But you'll also have metal contamination that actually like goes into the paint like that, okay? So what happens is when you do the clay bar, it essentially wipes out the very top surface of the bonded contamination. So this is my towel that is acting as my clay. So it like wipes out the top surface of all the bonded contamination like that. But you still have this metal contamination that's embedded into the paint. When you spray iron remover on here and it sits on here, it starts melting this away down to its core. And as it melts it away, it removes it from inside of your paint, embedded into your paint. So I like to do that. I like to do the removing the bonding contamination from the surface and embed it into your clear coat all in one step by using iron remover as melting the metal particles away.
As that step?
Yep, as a bonded and embedded contamination removal.
Do you want to write like iron remover?
Yeah, so then this would be like, I'm using iron remover and Visco clay bar, okay? And they're working like in unison.
Do you want some questions?
Yeah, before I take a couple more questions, what I'm gonna do is, I hope that was a decent explanation, but what I'm gonna do really quick is just, before I jump ahead too much, I wanna just give you a quick, like, sort of like a history of like protection for your vehicle, but also like how each protection, type of protection works in like a silo, if that makes sense. So this is like, you know.
Silos in like categories.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like history of I just have to say this really quick. If you're a teacher and you're on here, I respect you a lot because writing on a whiteboard is not easy. Mine are all crooked and it's like hard to read, and I apologize. Like this says histovy, you know, it's like doesn't even say history.
My mom was a teacher and her handwriting is like a font.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't understand how people do it.
And then mine is like 10 times worse than yours.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna write this. It's not necessarily a table, but like this is gonna be kind of like the silos. So when we think of like, if you think of a silo in a farm, it's like, you know, a silo looks like this with like a window and it holds all the grain inside of it. It runs up and down and there's things inside of it, right? Same concept here. This is like silo 1, silo 2, silo 3. So you have wax as one silo. You have sealant as another silo. And then you have ceramic as the last one. So when we think of in these silos, the reason why I call them silos is because there's different protection agents that sit in each one of these. So
And
with
they work together with what's in there.
yeah, like if you're protecting your car with wax or sealant, you want to use wax products together because they work the best together. With sealants, same thing. You want to be working in this sealant silo because they complement each other in the best form, okay? But there is a little bit of crossover here, and I'm going to explain that here in a minute, okay? So within wax, I'm going to go with least amount of protection to the most on all of these. So within the Adams Polishes line, you have a product called spray wax. It's like made from actual carnauba wax. You spray it onto the car, you wipe it, and it applies like a very thin layer of wax. Then you have buttery wax. Buttery wax is a liquid form of wax. It's not so liquid to the point you can spray it, but it's, you know, comes in a cream, you put it onto a thing, you wax your car, okay? Then you have our Americana wax. And the Americana wax comes in a paste wax. It comes in a jar, you rub an applicator against it, and you put it on. Whenever you make a product more thin, meaning getting to the point where you can spray it, it has less longevity. The reason why is because it becomes a more thin layer on your car, okay?
Diluting it.
Diluting it, yeah. So it's not as concentrated with the material that you're putting onto the car. Now within sealants, we have roughly 3 products, but the first one is going to be Slick In Slide. Okay, Slick In Slide is a sealant, polymer sealant product. The next one down from that is going to be H2O Guard and Gloss. Okay, it's sitting right there. This gray product, H2O Guard and Gloss right here, that's a sealant product. Now, this one isn't really one that you want to like be using as a base layer of sealant, but our Ultra Foam Ultra Foam shampoo also has some sealant protection inside of it that can help support these products as well. Okay? Then you get into ceramic. There's a ton of different ceramic products, and we're going to talk about that later. But at its core, for like, I'm talking about like base layers of ceramic. Well, no, I'll just go like this. So you have like,
And in this ceramic category, does that include both polysiloxane and silica products?
yes, it does. So I'm gonna go like this. So like, I'm just gonna put a G dot and then detail spray, and then a G dot CS3, and then a G dot boost. Okay? These are, I'm gonna go like this, SiO2 based. Okay, like that. Okay, now when you go to like a base ceramic, you're gonna go graphene spray coating, graphene spray advanced, and then you go to just the standard graphene ceramic coating, okay? And then you get into the graphene ceramic coat. Why am I putting S? That's graphene spray. This is just graphene regular, and this is graphene advanced, okay? So this is like, these are siloxane based. Okay, these are this is like two different forms of ceramic. Okay, now the siloxane based also has a little bit of SiO2 in it. Okay, just like not a lot. The main base of that is siloxane. Okay, but because it has some SiO2 in it, which is again another form of ceramic, that means that these products who are SiO2 based can actually bond with this product. Okay, so yeah.
You could say like drop here and go SiO2.
Yeah. Yeah, so Chris had a good suggestion. So I can kind of go like this, and I can go like this. And I mean, kind of like this a little bit, but this is like what I was talking about, SiO2. This is siloxane. And this has a little bit of SiO2 in it, but it serves a different purpose. Now these, I was talking about some of the crossover. These, some of them are more sealant, like these two. Like I'll go like this. This one and this one are like sealant, more sealant based, polymer sealant based. And CS3 is more just SiO2 based, but these also contain SiO2, all right? Now this is important for later in the discussion, okay? These things right here are important for later in the discussion. And I'm gonna make a bold statement right now, but I will say this. For everyone watching, I bet this is the most confusing part of ceramic coating. From here, yep, from here over. This is the most confusing part of ceramic coating, not even a question. This is easy to understand because this is like your base layer. And we talk a lot about this at Adams Polishes because this product right here is pretty much our #1 selling product at Adams Polishes, okay? So I think there's a pretty good understanding of like how this product specifically works, okay? So, but what I want to show you is like within your silos, you should be working together with all of these. Now wax, traditionally, I'm just going to talk about this for a second. Back in the olden days when wax was first introduced, carnauba wax, which comes from a specific tree from Brazil, the reason why it's carnauba is it's an extremely hard wax. It's harder than paraffin wax, it's harder than beeswax, okay? The carnauba wax was a very hard substance, so you put it on your car and it would last a little bit longer than if you were putting beeswax on your car, okay? The other thing about wax is it offers a pretty good shine to your car. Now there's a reason for that, and back when this was introduced, people were not using machine polishers on their car. There were rotary buffers, but they just didn't get the results like we have now with the dual action orbital polishers, okay? Very different technologies. Look the same, but very different, okay? So back in these days when people aren't buffing on their cars and polishing them, it was, oh, my car looks scratched, I need to wax it. The reason being is in here, well, let me draw this. When your car, so again, this is like the clear coat on top. And this is looking almost like a profile of the painted surface, okay? So again, this is like, this right here is the clear coat. So from here above is the clear coat, the layer of clear coat. Then this is like the paint. But like, listen, back in the day, it was a lot of like lacquer paint. So there was no clear coat. It was just like a big, thick.
Single stage.
It was like a big, thick layer. So let me talk about that in like the history of this really quick. So realistically, back in the day, same concept, profile of the car. Okay, and then like way down here, this was substrate. And this was paint. Like this was like the lacquer paint, whatever you want to call it, right? The reason why I write this as a profile is all these things coming down here are like profiles of scratches. So us as human beings, what we see as scratches, if there was no light that exists in the world, you would never see a scratch. The reason why you see a scratch is because light travels into the scratch, it bounces here, bounces here, bounces here, bounces here, and then it comes back out. And what our eyes are seeing is this part where the light is bouncing around in the scratch, okay? And that's why, like, if you use good lighting, it's easier to see the scratches because you're directing it in a way that your eyes can see that movement of light inside of the scratch, right? And it's obviously like different reflections, right? Essentially, to me, the definition of perfect shine is if you draw a perfectly straight line and light hits it and bounces off a perfect reflection, that's all shine is. Perfect.
That's a mirror. Like
Yeah.
a mirror does exactly this.
Yep, perfect shine is just a mirror on your car. It means it's like a perfectly flat surface, okay? If you took a key and you keyed a mirror, you would see that because the light bounces around inside of that. Taking away my silo? So anyways.
But your silo is now in the middle of paint, so it's confusing.
So essentially what would happen is when you would use either a buttery wax or an Americana paste wax, you put a layer of wax on top like this, and it fills, let's just take, this is the red is our wax, and it fills all of this in. Okay, it fills the scratches in and it puts a thicker layer even on top of the paint, like that. Now, because when you wipe it away and it buffs to a perfect like surface, the reason why your car, when it's wax, looks so shiny is because now the light is reflecting off of the wax and you see a perfect reflection. And that's why people went, oh, like back in the day before they're polishing cars, is they're going, I need to wax my car because it looks scratched. It's like, no, really what you should be saying is, I'm going to fill in the scratches with wax to make it look shiny, but I'm not actually correcting it at all. Zero. I'm just masking it, meaning I'm putting an artificial layer of something on there to create a flat surface so it looks shiny. That's it. That's essentially what wax was doing back in the day before people were polishing their cars, okay? Now, as wax and the car care industry starts to grow, like I would say this, like Meguiar's has a long history of making things look amazing, right? They started as a furniture polishing company, and then they migrated to car care, right? They had a huge line of waxes and polishes that you would use on your car and on your furniture, right? But then as more people entered into the car care space and started adapting technologies from other industries like the woodworking industry, we'll call it even the aerospace industry, the industrial industry, you start adapting different technologies to then do things to a car that you couldn't do before by just putting a wax onto the car, right? So as people started investing more into the car care industry, you have chemists who are now chemically engineering a polymer sealant that is going to last longer than wax, but perform the same way. It's still going to fill in imperfections, create a perfect, flat surface so you get the shine that you're looking for. But now instead of thinking of wax that we measure in, this is like days to month, not months, okay? days to months is how much wax is lasting on your car. You get into sealants, which are you're measuring in months and maybe year. Okay, so now you have someone chemically engineering sealants, and they are very much like, oh, we could like make this last longer so people like don't have to do this waxing process as often.
Are the sealants more like, do sealants make the surface more hydrophobic than a wax would?
Sealants are chemically engineered to, have water. I don't know. I don't think it's really that much different. If I use a wax versus a sealant, the water behavior, hydrophobic properties don't look that much different compared to a ceramic coating, which is wildly different, right? It's very similar. And I think that was like the concept in the beginning of sealants was like, we just want something to last longer so we don't have to wax our car as much. I want to wax it every 3 months instead of every other week, it's like, because the more you have to spend time on your car, it means you're not spending time with your family or whatever, right? So sealants were just really designed to last longer. And sealants generally are resin-based. You think of like resins, like surfboards are made out of resin. But when you break that down, it's like a harder surface than any wax could ever become because it's chemically engineered. Okay, so then you have these sealants that are like lasting. And I'll be honest, when I first got involved with Adams Polishes, we only had wax and sealant. Ceramic coating didn't exist, not even in the whole industry yet. It did in other industries, but not car care at that time. Okay, and so sealants was like the thing. We had something called paint sealant, and then we had the H2O Garden Gloss that came in 2015 that was to support a liquid paint sealant. I think that was actually the name of our product, liquid paint sealant. It was gray, and that's why H2O Garden Gloss is gray.
I think it's just paint sealant.
It was liquid paint sealant, and then we dropped the liquid. We just made it paint sealant. But the paint sealant was a dark gray, and the H2O Garden Gloss was a lighter gray. And they were designed to work together because, again, you work in the silo of the protection that you're working in. So, I mean, if you guys go back on our YouTube and search Adams Polishes Winter Prep, you'll see videos from like 2015, 2016, where we're talking about winter prep and like you should be using this sealant. Like that was all we had back then. Then in 2016, the ceramic coatings, like late 2015 and 2016, ceramic coatings started hitting the market in the US specifically. It was very prominent in Japan. That was like where a lot of the car care ceramic coatings derived from, was Japan. And then it started kind of migrating over to China and Japan, and then it started migrating over to the US. Now I'll say China, Japan, even areas in Europe, like Germany, some places over there. And ceramic coatings started to become somewhat popular there, then they migrate to the US. But when it comes here, it was a very kind of, I almost want to call it was sort of unknown what they were. And it was very sophisticated as to the people who could put this on your car. And still at this time, 2015, people are still not fully polishing their cars at home. Only professionals were doing that, right? Because they were the ones who had the tools of the dual action polishers, the orbital polishers. They were making cars. They were correcting cars versus masking cars with wax. And then what they're doing is putting sealants on top, but then this new technology comes, which is a nano ceramic coating. And now you can put that on top, which like exponentially outlasts a sealant. You're talking years of protection versus months of protection now. So as ceramic coating comes over to the US, you kind of have these, in car care, you have essentially like two groups of people. Okay, you have pros and you have the DIY. Okay. So the pros now have access to the ceramic coating, so they're installing ceramic coatings. But with that comes a knowledge and experience of application. But the other thing that they know how to do is paint correct. Sorry. And kind of during this time, the DIY doesn't know how to paint correct. Okay, the DIY is still putting wax on their car and sealant.
And was that just because the ceramic coatings were not user friendly, and so
The ceramic
pros-
coatings were kind of user friendly, but it was more of like, I think the DIY was a little bit scared to, well, first off, they had no idea that it existed because when it
Right.
came from overseas, it was presented to the professionals because they're the ones that are like, again, paint correction was like, that to me, I think for paint correction for the DIY is often the barrier of why a ceramic coating is not going on their car, right? Because when you have a semi-permanent layer of protection on the car, you're essentially putting this like 5-year ceramic coating on a car, and if you don't correct it, you're locking in all the imperfections that are in that paint. So generally, what you want to do if you're putting on, a ceramic coating that lasts many years, you want to get your car as perfect as looking as possible before you end up putting that on your car. And that paint correction was something the DIY was not doing, right? And so that was very much a barrier. But with companies like Cyclo polishers, Cyclo is a dual head 3-inch pad that like we sold as Adams polishes. As you start getting that into DIY customers' hands, now they're actually correcting their paint, making it look perfect. And now they're looking for something to keep that perfect for a longer time. They're not masking scratches, they're fixing them, and then they want to keep it fixed for like as long as possible. So sealant was the thing that most everybody was using, right? So they're paint correcting their car, either using like a flex machine or like a cyclo polisher. Also, what was it called? Why can't I think of the name? There's another polisher the Porter cable. Porter cable was another one that we sold that could actually correct a car, so then you could like keep it looking like that for longer. There's also a ton of other orbital polishers on the market. I know back in the day, I knew a lot of pros that were using a company called Festool. It's a German-made product. That is like they derived from the woodworking industry and then brought their orbital polishers, random orbital polishers, to the detailing market.
So were they sanding machines previously?
They're essentially like sanding machines, yeah. Because if you think about it in woodworking, if you use a rotary buffer and you push too hard, it gouges the wood surface. Versus using a random orbital non-forced rotation, it makes the surface more flat and perfect. So you can really sand wood to like a perfect finish and then, put something on top of it to like make it shiny and look nice. Same concept with clear coat and cars. They just were like, oh, if we can do that with wood, why don't we try it with cars? And then you do that, but then you have more, you have people developing more like compound and polishing systems that work better on cars, right? So now you move down kind of the timeline. So I'll just draw like a little timeline right here. So let's say this is like, I don't know, this is the year 2000 and then like previous. And now you're in like, this is 2010, 20, and now let's say 25, like this, okay? So like what I was talking about here where like stuff became introduced, we can make little marks that are like 5-year increments, okay? This type of thing where like people were polishing and ceramic coating cars is starting to happen kind of like in 2010 to like 2015. This is like intro to ceramic into the actual like car care market in the US, right? Then when you get into like 2015,
that's for pros.
what?
So like this.
Yeah, this is mainly like for pros. So this is like pro, right? Now when you get into like the 2015, 2020, you have Adams polishes here in 2016. Boom, 16. Adams polishes introduces ceramic coating to the general public. We were the first to do it, right? When I say general public, I mean like to the DIY person. We introduced ceramic coating to the person at home that wanted to polish and ceramic coat their car, right? And if you go back and look up on our YouTube channel here, just search Adams Polishes paint coating. You'll see the first video that we ever made when it came to ceramic coating. The bottles looked way different. They looked like our standard A logo, and it just said paint coating. We had 3. We had, as far as like Adams polishes go, when we introduced it, I'm just gonna take this off really quick. Adams polishes. Ceramic. Any more questions, Chris? Okay.
Henry says, I'm going to be doing a one-step in ceramic coating, a Jaguar E-Type, resprayed in 2016. What are y'all's tips?
My tip is assess the finish first. If it's scratched or has swirl marks or anything, you're going to want to correct that. So do the polishing step with like compound and polish.
You said a one-step. I think you meant one-step polish.
Oh yeah, you could do a one-step polish, but get it to where everyone's version of perfect is different. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute, but like you want to get it to a point where you're happy with the way a car looks, and then get our graphene ceramic. I don't care which one you get, but either one of those, and ceramic coat the car. You're going to love it. It makes cleaning the car so much easier. Okay. So what I just wanted to show you really quick was in 2016 we released 3 ceramic coatings. 1, 2, 3. We had paint coating. We had wheel coating. And we had trim coating. Now, I'm just going to say this really quick. Back in these days, we didn't really have a lot of understanding of what we were doing. Ceramic coatings were so new to us. We had no idea. So like the big thing when they first came out was like this hardness rating, right? So like the paint coating was like I think we said it was like a 7H. The wheel coating was a 9H, and the trim coating was a 5H. That's like the hardness of the ceramic coating on a certain test that you would do. The reason why we did trim coating at a 5H is because we thought, as Adams polishes, that the less hard it was, the more flexible it was, in which your trim, like especially when it goes out in the sun and then the sun goes down and it gets cold at night, is expanding and contracting. So we needed a ceramic coating that could do that with the trim. Now the paint also did that, but not as much as the trim. So we did a 7H, so like the coating can be, dynamic on the surface to be able to stretch and contract and all these different things. Whereas the wheel coating, we wanted the hardest surface because that's the thing that takes the most wear and tear on your car. Okay, so we come out with this paint coating, wheel coating, and trim coating, and it was like, okay, if you want to do your whole car, you need to buy all 3 of these products. It was like, oh my God, this is way too much, right? So then after a little while, I want to say 2017, 2018 probably.
Yeah, 18, because I was here.
Yep, 2018. So then we go to 2018.
Yeah. Are you talking about when we just did paint coating?
Now then we released something called the UV ceramic coating.
18 or 19?
This is 18. Now, we still did the same thing. We still had the paint coating, we still had the wheel coating, and we still had the trim coating. And by the way, I just used the wheel coating like not too long ago. I actually still really like that product. But what we did is our chemist, our lead chemist, put a UV tracer, which I'm sure you guys are all aware of because it's in the graphene, that essentially, if you used a black light, you could see exactly where you put the ceramic coating on the car. Okay, so that is 2018. Then in 2020, boom, the big word that everybody loves. I gotta like spice this up a little bit. We release.
Gold.
Yep. We release this amazing technology, graphene. Okay, graphene, and what we were able to do is our chemists upgraded the formula to where you could put it on all surfaces. It wasn't like specific to paint, wheels, or trim. It's like, nope, you can put this on glass, paint, any exterior surface, probably excluding a soft top of a car, right? Like a convertible. Graphene is able to be put on every single thing, okay? Now, what I want to show you really quick is how ceramic coatings work. So the idea behind this, and I'm not like a chemist, so this, bear with me because I'm trying to explain this in the best way possible. Is, again, I'm going to show you like, so this is substrate. This is primer. This is color, paint, color/paint. This is clear coat. And then you have this layer, which is a very thin layer. I can't really do that on here. But then you have,
Not to scale.
not to scale. Then you have ceramic coatings that are on top. Okay? So you have this protection layer that's sitting on top, and I will represent it with like this. We'll just go like, okay, that's the ceramic coating. Now, on a microscopic level, a ceramic coating kind of looks like this. So you have, again, we'll draw like the layers a little bit more thick. So again, this is like color/paint. This is clear coat. And then the ceramic coating is a layer like this. Kind of looks like the Rocky Mountains on top of your car, okay? When it was explained to me initially, it was like a bed of nails, but I think if you look at it under a microscope, I was just looking at a picture on my computer, it looks like if you looked at a top down of the Rocky Mountains, you would see like these peaks and valleys, right?
Like jagged crystals.
Jagged crystals. And that's what it is. It's ceramic coating. It's a glass coating, nanoparticles that crystallize into a structure that reacts with water molecules to do very specific things, right? So from my understanding, the way it was described to me, not only is there a chemical reaction happening, so like between electrons, where it's like
Chemical, electromagnetic.
electromagnetic.
Because the chemical reaction would be if they were turning into a different chemical.
Yeah. So electromagnetic reactions. If you think about it almost like a positive magnet against a positive magnet, they can't bond together. They're pushing each other away, rejecting each other, versus if you flip that and you have a negative magnet with a positive magnet, they want to come together, right? And so you have an element of that, which is the actual like electromagnetic energy that's happening between molecules, but also the structure of the ceramic coating, okay? So essentially, both with the electromagnetic energy, the way it's working, but also your water molecules can't adhere to this top peak and also can't go into the valley of the structure. I did. Where did I put it? We did have blue. Might not work very well. So it's kind of like this. The water molecule can't adhere to the top point, and then it can't go in between. So that's like the surface energy. The surface energy is promoting the hydrophobic properties. Okay? So this is sort of like all of the chemistry and all of the molecule interaction and all this stuff is what's creating the hydrophobic properties that happen on your ceramic coating. You're all familiar with it. I mean, I talk about it all the time. We as a business talk about it all the time. Now, as your ceramic coating, okay, so here's the thing. With graphene, essentially, the reason why it's called graphene is they take a derivative of graphene called RGO. This is reduced, it's called reduced graphene oxide. Okay? Reduced graphene oxide is then paired with the silazane base of a standard ceramic coating. Okay? So essentially what reduced graphene oxide does is it creates this chain link paired with the silazane to bolster the protection. It makes it stronger and it makes it react with with other things like water and other things makes it react even more of a rejection to the water. So like performs better because it's rejecting water at a better performance, but it's also a stronger bond and a harder surface to where, you know, abrasion, but also detergency from other chemicals, it reduces it that much more than a regular ceramic coating. So what happens is with the graphene ceramic coatings, it outlasts other ceramic coatings because of that added reduced graphene oxide that is in the formula. Okay, so
Rodney had a question. He said, is the graphene glass coating in the polysiloxane category? 'Cause it
this
looks
is
like
not.
it was left out of the bracket.
This is different. This is more of like, it's different than all of these, and I don't know exactly what it is, but it does have some SiO2 in it.
And
But
where
it's like a completely different protection agent from sealants and all this. I think it might be a form of a sealant, but it's not like what these are made out of. I'd have to ask Chris again. I can't remember. Something very specific.
But it does have RGO in it, right?
It does have reduced graphene. I'm just going to say this. We do not put the graphene name on a product if it doesn't have reduced graphene oxide in it. If it has reduced graphene oxide in it, then we absolutely put the graphene name onto it. Okay? And I'm going to talk about that here in 1 second. But what I was going to say is the ceramic coating, as you put a ceramic coating on your car, okay? Now, there's multiple benefits to a ceramic coating. Okay, so let me get rid of this one. Benefits of the ceramic coating, and especially graphene ceramic coating. So, benefits of ceramic coating. Okay, this is hydrophobic. Okay, so the reason why hydrophobic is a benefit, not only does it look amazing and it's cool, right? But it has self-cleaning properties, okay? This is a really kind of dumb term, self-cleaning. That's not like the ceramic coating gets out and it starts like, you know, using a broom to get dust off, right? The reason why it's self-cleaning is because if you have like a painted surface like this and then the ceramic coating on top, and there's little like dirt particles all over the painted surface, and you have this water bead, it's like this, a water bead. As this water bead moves through this way, it starts to pick up the dirt and encapsulate it into the water. Then the water eventually falls off of the car, and now there's less water on your car. Just this, what I just described right here, that's what self-cleaning is.
So because the water doesn't stick, it pulls the dirt off of it.
It pulls
and
more.
that's why people call it self-cleaning.
Yeah, that's why it's called self-cleaning, because the water is pulling more dirt off of the surface, and the hydrophobic properties is what allowing the water to fall off the surface easier. Okay, so self-cleaning properties. Okay, this is it's the resistance. Is it ENCE or ANCE?
Yeah, it's A.
Resistance to chemicals. Okay, so a highly detergent chemical, like let's just call it like Dawn dish soap, which is like the ultimate degreasing soap, right? That's what they use to clean the ducts during an oil spill, you know? So more chemical resistant to chemicals like that, like a highly degreasing property, or more harsh chemical like a wheel cleaner, a water spot remover that's an acid. It's very like resistant to those chemicals, okay? And it's a harder surface. So it's like less likely to scratch. So if it's a harder surface, that means like if you are rubbing dirt on the surface, it might still scratch a little bit, but it's not going to be as severe as if you did it into a softer sealant, wax, or clear coat, okay? With all of these things, right? So self-cleaning means that if it's a self-cleaning properties, if that means that the water behavior is falling off of the car and taking more dirt with it, that means when you go to wash your car, you're putting less dirt onto the car. That if there's less dirt on the car when you're washing, that means there's less scratching during the washing process, okay? If it's more chemical resistant, meaning you use a strip wash or you use a degreasing, like a degreaser, like all-purpose cleaner or something like that, if it resists the wear from those chemicals, that means the ceramic coating is going to end up lasting longer, okay? Because it's a harder surface, if you do get scratches in it, they're not as severe and not as deep, so your car looks more shiny for a longer period of time, okay? So ceramic coating at its core is it's using these properties to essentially last longer because chemicals aren't going to reduce the layer of ceramic coating. There's less dirt on the car, which is going to abrade the ceramic coating less, and it's a harder surface, so it's going to be more resistant to being abraded away, okay? So that is why ceramic coatings have such a huge benefit, because it makes cleaning your car easier, number one. So this is kind of why ceramic coatings are great, but like for you as a consumer, like washing your car is easy. So let's go like this. Consumer benefit. Benefit, not tick. Okay, this means the benefits to this are easier cleaning. Right? We all know this. Ceramic coatings on your car, you spray it with a pressure washer, beads up water, more stuff comes off the car. And this is, again, connected to the self-cleaning. Okay? Now, your car looks better for longer. Okay? Again, this is associated with the resistance to chemicals and the harder surface. So if it looks better for longer, what do you think that means for you, the consumer? That means you don't have to reapply it as often because your car looks better for longer. So these benefits are creating these scenarios in which you don't feel like you need to reapply ceramic coating as often. And part of the detailing process, I touched on this earlier, the more efficient that your detailing processes are, the less time you spend on it, which means you either get to enjoy your car more for a Sunday drive or whatever, your car looks better for longer, so you hold more pride into your car and how it looks, or you have more time to spend with family and friends and all the other things, of all the other stuff that you want to do with your hobbies. Maybe car care is your hobby, depends, right? But it keeps your car looking better for a longer period of time. Now, when we talk about reapplication with wax, every 2 weeks you're re-waxing your car. Boom, you got to keep doing it because you're not correcting it and preserving it for a longer period of time. Sealant, you're reapplying every 3 months or so, right? Maybe less than that, maybe every month, maybe every 3 months. Ceramic coating, you can reapply every 1 or 2 years. Your protection application process, how many times you do it is significantly reduced, okay? And I was just gonna write something. But anyways, one thing I wanna show you as I move on, now I'm gonna move on to why you need the most confusing thing in car care, which is SiO2 products, okay? So what I wanna show you is up here on this structure I was talking about, like it's like the Rocky Mountain structure. What happens is, as you consistently wash your car and do all these things to it, you're naturally abrading it, no matter what. But you're gonna abrade it at less of a rate than like a sealant or a wax because the ceramic coating's harder. But naturally, it's going to abrade. So what ends up happening is you start abrading the surface away. And then what happens is, it kind of takes this top layer off. So now what it looks like, instead of peaks and valleys, it looks like plateaus on your car like this. Now you have kind of this like top flat surface, I guess you could call it. That was not right. But anyways, now it doesn't have like a jagged top edge like that. It's flattened. It's like boom, cut like that. Okay? So what happens is over time, like I would say over probably a year span, maybe 2 year span, depending on which ceramic coating you put on, it starts to abrade away. Now, that doesn't mean the ceramic coating is gone. There's still a layer of it, but the structure of it is reduced. It's like it's not the structure as it was when it first crystallized onto your car. So what happens is your water behavior starts to change. Instead of a water bead being like a perfect water bead like this, it's now able to span across some of these. And, oh yeah, sorry. And the water bead, and this is when everyone goes like, my coating's failing. It's like, not really, but like the water becomes a little bit more, not as tight of a water bead. The contact angle, and when we talk about contact angle with water, is,
If this is the surface that we're looking at from the side.
yep,
right?
this is like a surface that, yeah, profile of the surface. Okay, contact angle is that point right in there, okay? If you have a higher contact angle, that means the bead is more tight, meaning that it's gonna roll off of the surface easier versus the water bead like this, and this is like, there's no ceramic coating on there. This means that like, you know, this would be, gosh, I couldn't even tell you. It's like opposite. This would be like 120 degrees of contact angle. This would be like negative 120 or whatever. Not negative, but essentially your contact angle is like this. Obtuse versus acute. How's that, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, so if your contact angle is like this, the water is going to beat up and roll off the car. If it's like this, it's going to flatten out and be flat on your car. And that's a great example of when your car has more hydrophilic versus hydrophilic is the opposite of hydrophobic. Hydrophobic is tight water beads that fall off the car. Hydrophilic is when the water flattens out onto your car. Okay, so
Label that.
yeah, hydrophilic. I don't know if that's spelled right. Hydrophobic. Okay.
I think it might have a Y, but I'm really not sure.
Yeah, it does.
I think it's 2 L's.
Yeah, it is, Chris.
Close enough.
Okay, so hydrophobic is what we're going for with ceramic coatings. Now, when the structure starts to get reduced, it starts to become less hydrophobic, more moving towards the side of hydrophilic. So there's a couple ways to help that. And when we say help that, we're talking about the maintenance portion of ceramic coatings, okay? Everything that's labeled SiO2 in here is designed to be a maintenance type of product for your ceramic coating, okay? So what I want to show you is what you can do when you start to see a reduction in performance of hydrophobic properties on your ceramic coating. You use something like graphene boost, graphene detail stay, graphene CS3.
Do you want to talk about what happens when you have dirt sitting on this surface as far as hydrophobics? Like that a lot of times people are like, oh, my coating has failed, but it's just because you've got bonded contaminants on there.
I'm going to talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just like ceramic coating at its core. I'm not talking about any outside elements. This is just a reduction in structure of the ceramic coating. And by the way, Chris brings up a good point. If you have a reduction in structure, there's less hydrophobic properties, so more dirt stays on your car. So then when you wash it, you're actually reducing the layers of ceramic on your car faster because there's more dirt, more abrasion, so on and so forth. Versus when you have a hydrophobic structure, there's less dirt on the car, so you don't abrade it as often or as fast. So I would say, like, as your ceramic coating starts to reduce the layer thickness onto the car and it becomes the structure like this, we're showing like plateau, at that point, the elimination of ceramic on your car is gonna happen very fast because now you have more elements on your car like dirt and grime and all this other stuff that are going to abrade it away faster because there's more dirt and grime on the car. Okay, so I just want you to know that, like, if you keep it consistently hydrophobic by boosting it with ceramic booster detail spray, which I'm going to talk about in a second, if you're constantly doing this, it keeps that structure working for a longer period of time, meaning less dirt is going to be on the car when you go to wash it. So what I was going to say is, as you start to see a reduction in hydrophobic properties, you can boost it, call it with ceramic boost, and what happens is this gets sprayed and wiped onto the surface, and now this brings back the peaks and valleys structure on top of your existing ceramic coating. Okay, so now this is like filling in and sitting on top of the ceramic coating that you have already placed onto the car. Okay, and the reason why it works is because these silazane based ceramic coatings have a little bit of SiO2 in it, so this SiO2, highly concentrated SiO2 product can bond to the silazane and SiO2 product as well. And that's why I was going to write on here, these are like, we call these boosting products. That's why this is called graphene boost, okay? Boosting means it boosts hydrophobic. Okay? This boosts hydrophobic. All these products underneath boost the hydrophobic properties that are on your ceramic coated vehicle.
Jonathan says, is the ceramic coating a mechanical or chemical bond onto the clear coat?
It's a chemical bond.
Yeah, it's chemical.
Chemical bond to the actual surface of the clear coat.
And the SiO2 is?
SiO2 is a chemical bond to, it's
So-
both, but the weird thing
But
about
it's not as strong as the silazane.
it's not as strong, and it's also not as durable. Like it gets worn away easy from, we're talking about,
Not as hard and not as durable.
it's essentially a reduction of these properties I just talked about right here. Or, yeah, it's like, it's not as resistant to chemicals, and it's not as hard of a surface. So it gets worn away at a faster rate. That's why these, like CS3, we talk about, CS3 lasts maybe 3 months on your car. You're in kind of sealant numbers with SiO2. And I would say this, some companies sell a very highly, highly concentrated SiO2 spray sealant, but it's very hard to work with. Because what I'm gonna show you guys here in just a second is, for the most part, I'm gonna go like this. I haven't even got into this part, and I've talked about this many times. As a blanket like this, and as a blanket like this. This is solvent based, okay? This is water based, okay? What do I mean by that? It means that, I think you guys have heard me talk about this before, but in all of car care, you have to have something called a vehicle agent. A vehicle agent is something that essentially gets what you want inside that bottle that you want to put on your car. How do you get it out of the bottle and onto your car? But also at a bigger scale, how do you mix something into a big mixing container and then put it into a tote full of things that then gets put into a bottle that then gets shipped to your house, and then that stuff inside that bottle goes onto your car. It has to have something. It's like water and solvent are the school buses for all the stuff that's inside of these products, right?
So it's the school bus that carries either the SiO2 or the polysilazane, the polysilazane and reduced graphene oxide.
Exactly. Now, silazane-based coating, silazane-based ceramic, cannot be mixed with water. Silazane is, the chemical structure of it cannot work together with water.
It's cured by water.
Huh?
Like it reacts with water.
Kinda. But what I'm trying to say is, if you mix silazane with H2O or water, it reacts crazy and it turns into gel. We have a bottle of it downstairs. It turns into like this thick gel and it can't work together. But SiO2 can be mixed with water. It's called solubilized. It means you can mix SiO2 with water, like you can shake all this up, and then you can get it out of the bottle by using the water. The reason why solvent and water are used as vehicle agents is because water evaporates into the air, which starts the water cycle over and over and over again. So listen, if you're using these products, you're actually helping it rain. Okay? I'm just gonna say that. Solvent is different. Solvent flashes off the surface, but solvent turns into I'm sure it turns into like a gas. It goes somewhere, but it comes out of the surface.
It evaporates.
It evaporates out of the surface. Same with water, same with solvent. But the polysilazane can't be mixed with water, so you have to mix it with a solvent, okay? And actually, the thing that's cool about the solvent is the solvent flashing off the surface. This creates the rainbow effect. Okay, the solvent's doing that, okay? Whereas with a water-based product, there is no such thing as the rainbow because the water, it's, you know, it's like you can't watch the water evaporate into the air. You can't see that it's happening. You can if it's like really hot, turns into steam, and that's the gas from water, and then it goes up into the air. But the rainbow effect is actually, it's kind of a cool, it's like the solvent allows the silazane-based coating to go onto the car, but the rainbow effect with the solvent gives you, the customer, a sense of when to wipe the buff off the ceramic coating.
Mohammed says, will any SiO2 detailer or SiO2 spray sealant work well with the graphene coatings?
Yes, 100%. So yeah, Mohammed, you said?
Yep.
He said, will any SiO2 spray sealants or any SiO2 based product work well with a graphene ceramic coating? And the reason is yes, because your graphene ceramic coatings are the silazane, but also paired with the reduced graphene oxide, right? So the reduced graphene oxide is bolstering the silazane performance, but also because this is silazane, SiO2 can be paired with it. And here's the other thing, if you like the graphene, but you have like another bottle, say of one of our competitors, it's a silazane based ceramic coating, you could put that on top of the graphene. It's just not gonna have the same performance that the graphene has. It's just different.
Is the smell of the graphene, the silazane-based coatings, the solvent? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like a mixture of the solvent with the silazane and all the other stuff. But that's why this stuff smells awful.
Yeah.
Because the solvent
smells awful.
Yeah, the solvent smells awful. And there's different forms of solvent. This has a specific one. That's why it kind of has like, almost like a...
Smells good. Smells bad.
Well, the thing with solvent, it's a very strong chemical, right? And the type of... I mean, the solvent that is inside of this product was hand-picked by our chemist, Chris, because of this performance right here. He didn't just pick some run-of-the-mill solvent. I mean, there's solvent inside of our Brilliant Glaze. He couldn't use that. He used a very specific solvent blend, so it rainbows for a very specific amount of time. So then you know, as a consumer, when to... It gives you that timer, essentially, or the scent. It gives you that set of eyes. It's like, okay, the rainbow went away. Now it's time for me to wipe it off. He has created and generated an experience for you to know how to do it, because we talked about it earlier when ceramic coatings first hit the market, only pros could do it because they had the experience. They didn't have a specific like indicator of rainbow effect of when it should be removed. Our chemists designed that piece of it. So as a consumer, you're like, okay, I know exactly when I need to wipe that off. He generated an experience from like the moment you apply it to the moment you wipe it off. You know exactly how to do it. And it was very intentional, just so you know. Like that's part of the genius of what Chris did with the ceramic coating. And a lot of other places have adopted that, right?
Ken Wilson says, does using SiO2 help the graphene coating last longer or just boost it?
Yeah, so if you think about it like this, the more that you boost your ceramic coating, the more the purple is like the boosting agent on top. The more frequent you boost it, which just by the way, we're just gonna say this. I don't want to say harder, but maybe this is a more in-depth application process. Okay? This is extreme. This is like very, for the most part, pretty easy. Okay? Because this is like, there's a very specific process to this. You guys all know it. It's like, you know, do surface prep, put the ceramic coating on, wait for it to rainbow. Once the rainbow goes away, you buff it off. right? And then you got to let it sit, do all this stuff. The application process for, it's not as much these. I'm going to exclude these right now. Don't think about these right now. It's more these. It's like these three. This easy application is to this. You know how you apply this? You spray it onto the surface and you wipe it off. That's it, right? So it's extremely easy to do this process. So because it's easier to do, the more that you're doing the maintenance part of it, the more hydrophobic properties you have, the less dirt that's on the car. It's going to keep your ceramic coating on your car and performing how it is intended to perform for a longer period of time. Okay, so the boosting agent is like, it's just like coming in and like helping the ceramic coating a little bit here and there, but because it's so easy to do, you can do it more often. You don't have to set aside a weekend to like do all this application and everything else. You just spray it on and wipe it off. Okay, so let me erase some more of this stuff. Are we way over time, Chris?
2:19.
Okay, maybe like 10 minutes left. What I want to do is I'm going to essentially, I just want to talk about the ceramic coating maintenance, because again, I think when I said this is the most confusing thing, it seemed like everyone agreed. So I'm just going to go like this for right now. We'll take this off. Okay. So what I want to talk about is ceramic coating how do you spell it, Chris? Maintenance.
T there. It's TAINC. Maintain.
EN. Oh yeah. How bad is that, guys? Jeez.
AIN. ANCE.
There you go. There's a reason why I went to art school. All right, just leave me alone. I'm just kidding.
Professor Trigueros in session.
Yep. Okay, so what I want to show you guys really quick. So listen, we already applied these. Oh, and by the way, if you want to know something just really fast, I'm gonna show this to you really fast because I think this is something that people don't necessarily understand. It's like, what's the difference of your ceramic coatings? Okay, so really quick, we're just gonna lay this out here. Okay. And this explains kind of the year concept thing. So I'm going to show you this is concentration percentage. Okay? Concentration percentage. This is 7.5%. Let me write that a little bit different because, okay, so I'm going to go like this. 7.5% to, I got to do my math. This would be 92.5. Okay? Gosh, this is not. I just have to move this over a little bit. Just need more room to write. I don't plan anything, all right?
Ken Wilson says cheat, use spell check on your phone.
Dude, I wish. This is
That's what we have comments for.
15 to 85. This one is, I think this one is, yeah, this is 35 to 65. What?
That was 30.
No, 35. And then the advanced is 50-50. Okay? So when I say this first, when I say the first number, this is the concentration of ceramic coat, graphene ceramic coating.
Active ingredient.
Active ingredient, yeah. So I'm just going to say active ingredient. I'm just going to say graphene ceramic coating. This is solvent, right? So graphene ceramic, solvent. Graphene ceramic, solvent. Okay, so when you look at the differences of these, okay, 7.5% of the active ingredient, 15%, 35%, 50%. So when you look at this, this kind of creates an idea of like why we talk about the different years. Okay, so when we tested this just standard graphene ceramic spray coating, this through like tests in a lab and like almost mimicking like how people wash their car and do all this stuff, we essentially said this will last 1 year on your car. Okay, you double this percentage of active ingredient into the advanced, you double how long this lasts. It's just a ratio, kind of how it works. Okay, so then now this is why we say that's 2 years. Okay, then you bump up to here. This is why I say 5 years. And then you go even higher, and that's why we say 9 years. The only difference between all 4 of these is the percentage of solvent inside of it versus the ratio, the percentage of solvent to active
Ratio of
ingredient.
solvent to
Yep.
the active.
So when you think about this, if this is, again, clear coat, you have a layer like this, you have a layer like this, you have a layer like this, and then you have a layer like this. Okay, this is the, I'm just gonna write 1 year because I think, or I guess I could just write
Spray coating.
graphene spray. This is graphene spray advanced. This is the graphene regular coating, and this is the graphene advanced. Okay, so based on the percentage of raw material in there determines the thickness layer on top of your paint. So because these are all made of the same raw material, they wear away at the same exact time frame.
Rate.
Huh?
Rate.
What?
Rate.
At the same exact rate. So let's say that we wear away this much of this ceramic coating, this much of this. This is like, I'm trying to get it as close to as possible. This is after like 1 year of wear, right? You can see if it wears away at 1 year, wear there, wear here, wear here. This is gone at this point. This is worn away. This would probably be more like half. This is reduced, but this one is gonna last longer on your car because there's more of it on your car.
So it's not that this is harder than this, it's that this is a thicker layer on the surface
Exactly.
than this.
Yep, exactly. And I think too, like, you know, that's why when you think about our graphene ceramic coatings, the durability is the same across all of them, is equal. The durability meaning like resistance to scratches, resistance to chemicals, all the properties we talked like right here, the self-clean properties, all this stuff is the exact same. That's why the durability is the same. But the thing that's different, and I just kind of explained this, is different. Because the reason why this is different is because of layer thickness. So my thing that I like to talk to people about when we get into, oh, like which ceramic coating is best for me? I'm like, I'm not sure. Let me ask you some questions about how much you wash your car, you know, how much you drive your car, what type of element you live in. All these different factors of like how you live your life kind of determines which one of these ceramic coatings is best for you. If you want the highest longevity of ceramic coating on your car, no doubt you do the graphene ceramic coating advanced. If you are somebody that likes, this is me, I'm gonna profile myself right now, is I live in Colorado. It just snowed in Colorado. It was 7 degrees outside, or 10 degrees when we started this, okay? Because I live in a harsh weather reality, my car gets more damage than somebody who doesn't live in a harsh weather reality. So for me, I want a fresh layer of ceramic consistently before I go into winter and when I go into summer. So every October and every April, I reapply the graphene ceramic coating. And I don't need the thickest layer possible, because if I'm gonna be correcting it anyways and reapplying it, and I'm doing it every 6 months, realistically, I just need the spray coating, because I have to essentially reapply this. I don't have to, but I choose to reapply it every 6 months to keep the gloss and everything looking good on my car while I reapply it to go into the harsh winter months. And by the way, my car is very easy to clean during the winter. Very easy to clean because of that product right there. And it's also very easy to wash when I get into summer because of that product right there. So I just want you to see that. I think oftentimes people look at these bottles and they're like, I don't understand the difference. The only difference is the percentage of the raw material in each one of those. Now, one thing I will say, I'm not going to go into too much depth about this, but this will be kind of the last thing I talk about, and I'm going to end up touching on some of these products over here. This is the graphene ceramic coating, and this is clear coat, okay? This is, again, like looking a profile, like we're looking like across the surface, okay? Graphene ceramic coatings are what? They are, everybody, hydrophobic. I don't know if I spelled that right.
You do.
Okay. You know what they're not? I don't know what the technical term would this be. Well, what they do not do, here we go. Don't do. That's so stupid. Okay. Is they don't reject paint, oil, tree sap, etc. Okay? So what happens is on your ceramic coating, you might drive through the rain, which if you drive through the rain, after it rains, the roads are very oily. From everyone's, here I'll draw a cool picture of a car, right?
Such an artist.
By the way, it's a lowered car, okay? And these are the headlights, okay? This is the exhaust. Okay, the exhaust, this is the road. The exhaust blasts the road, okay? Then it rains, you get like these nice little raindrops. Get nice little raindrops. Mixes with the oil on the road, and then on your car, it splashes oil up on your car. So you get a nice, generally the bottom half of your car, you're gonna see it. You get, we're gonna make this one red so it like looks, so it really like looks terrible, you know? So now you get this layer of oil on your car. And everyone's seen it. You drive through the rain, you go to wash your car the next week or the next day, and you start rinsing it, and the water's perfectly flat on the bottom half, and it's water beating on the top half, from like the belt line up to the belt line below. Belt line below, it's flat. That's because it's giving the water, oil brings water to it. So now you have a big flat thing of water on the oily surface, okay? But over here, if there's no oil on this part of the car, which is generally the top half of the car, guess what? You have like a perfect water beam, right? So what do you do to reinstate the hydrophobic properties to get that oil off of your car? You wash your car with this instead of regular car shampoo. This has degreasing properties into it. You wash your car with graphene shampoo after it rains, and boom, it takes off that road oil. What a lot of detailers and people will talk about is road film, right? So the graphene shampoo, it takes all that off, and then it brings it back to where you're essentially like you're removing that layer of oil. So now the thing that's exposed is the graphene ceramic coating. So then generally, like I've seen this a lot of times. You ceramic coat a car, it gets caught in the rain, someone rinses it, and they go, my coating failed. What the hell? And I go like, here, just try this. And I hand them the graphene shampoo. They wash their car. The next day they come back and they're like, wow, that product's amazing. Like, what kind of protection is in that? I'm like, there's zero protection in that. All you did was remove the film, the road film off of your car, and now you're back to having the ceramic coating be the thing that the water is reacting with. Okay? That's what this is for. But this has no protection in it. Okay?
It says graphene because it's for a graphene coating.
Yep,
not
it
because
says-
has graphene.
Exactly. So guess what? Earlier I lied because I said anything that we put reduced graphene oxide in, it
Named graphene.
is named graphene. And actually, this graphene
Only exception.
graphene shampoo is the anomaly in the group. Okay, it's the only one. So we're gonna go like this. This has RGO. This ain't got nothing. Ain't got no protection in it. Okay, but it's very, very useful because what you're doing is you're trying to get the surface back to the ceramic coating, not oil and then ceramic coating. Okay, now over here, you have the ceramic coating on the car. You get paint over, this is not water. Let me change this. Your neighbor said, you know what? I want to paint my outdoor lounging chairs, how do you say it? Adriatic or
Adirondack.
Adirondack chairs. Adrian or whatever. Adirondack chairs. I'm going to paint them purple this weekend. He gets out there, he starts using spray paint. He's spraying it in his front yard. The paint comes out, floats in the air, boom, it sticks onto your ceramic coating. So you have now all these little purple paint overspray like all over your car. You can't see it, right? And by the way, you park next to a tree. So now you have tree sap all over your car. Okay? Now, guess what? That's called bonding contamination. Okay? This stuff is called bonded contamination. Contamination. You know what bonded contamination is not? It is not hydrophobic. And it's sitting on top of the thing that is hydrophobic. Okay? But your ceramic coating, like I said, what it doesn't do is it doesn't reject paint, which is paint overspray from your neighbor painting his chairs purple. It doesn't reject oil, which we just talked about here. It doesn't reject tree sap, which we said is on here. And there's more things it doesn't reject. Iron contamination, we talked about that at the beginning of this video. So how do you get back to your ceramic coating? Well, graphene shampoo is not going to do anything because it's intended to attack the oil on the car. Guess what you end up having to do? Clay the car. You use Adams Polish's clay mitt, which the clay mitt, I just want to do this for fun. Looks like this. And then it has like the clay on top of it. Right? And the artificial clay on the clay mitt removes the bonding contamination, but it's a fine grade type of clay, so it doesn't deteriorate or abrade away the graphene ceramic coating. And you can do that during the washing process. I have talked about that so many times on our YouTube channel. And by the way, all this stuff I'm talking about right now with ceramic coating maintenance, the best video I've ever made for ceramic coating maintenance, not even a question, is listen up, what is your ceramic coating telling you? The reason why it's a great video is because I explain to you different indicators of what you need to do based on what your ceramic coating, what is reacting when you spray it with water. Because the way we judge ceramic coating's performance is how water performs on it. So if you initially spray it and it's very flat, the first thing you do is you grab graphene shampoo. Then you spray it again. If it's still flat, you clay it to get the non-hydrophobic paint overspray and bonding contamination off. Then after you do that, if you spray it and it's water beading, boom, I got it. I'm done. I don't have to do anything else. But if you spray it again and it's like very, very close, but you need to boost the hydrophobic properties, then you reach for one of these boosting products, okay?
Does waterless wash, Victor wants to know, does waterless wash have ceramic properties?
Does waterless wash has 0 ceramic properties. What's that? I can talk about, I mean, I might even save this discussion for another time because we're like pretty far over time anyways.
Yeah,
This, I think, deserves its own segment. And this is very much like a ceramic coating maintenance. I would kind of exclude these. But these are ceramic coating maintenance products. This doesn't have anything. So this doesn't have anything. But this is a graphene form of maintenance. Or I'm not even going to say maintenance. Maintenance is a complete wrong word. Maintenance is something you need to do to ceramic coating consistently. The best maintenance thing for your ceramic coating is a 2-bucket wash system. If you do not have a 2-bucket wash system, you shouldn't even put a ceramic coating on your car. I'm just going to tell you that right now. If you don't have a great washing process, do not even put one of these ceramic coatings on your car because you're going to end up scratching it and doing damage to it. And you just did all this work to put that on, and then you do a subpar washing process. It's going to reduce this ceramic coating on your car very quickly. Okay, so having a great washing process first as a foundation, then graduate to the graphene ceramic coating, and you'll be very, very happy. But what I'll say is boosting products, okay? Not maintenance product, boosting product. This is a maintenance product, but these are boosting products, which is a part of maintenance, okay? These are graphene-based boosting products. These are non-graphene-based boosting products, okay? And there's other things you can do, but I think at its core, Adams Polishes offers these. And I'll say this, these products, I don't know, I'd probably say Graphene Boost is the most concentrated with the boosting properties of SiO2 and things like that. But the reason why we offer so many different ones is the delivery method and how you use them is very different amongst some of these. So what you get to do as a consumer is choose what process that you want to do. And I'll be honest with you, Joe Triguero, myself, I'm using these as my maintenance boosting products.
We actually just have a question of whether rinse aid can be used on ceramic coatings.
Oh, 100%. If you search Adams Polishes Rinse Aid on our YouTube channel, I talk about how you can use that on a ceramic coating and the effect that it has. And actually in that video I just talked about, listen up, what is your ceramic coating telling you? I show the effect of what Rinse Aid does. At the end, I do a boosting section in that video about ceramic coating maintenance. And I essentially show the difference between the Rinse Aid, the difference between graphene detail spray, and the difference between graphene boost, which I think all three of those are amazing maintenance products. But I personally am kind of living in this, I live in this lineup right here, like right now. My car care routine changes all the time based on new products, you know, reverting back to old products. I change a lot because I treat it more, for me, as like, it's more of a hobby than it is like a necessity. And so I like, but also I work here, so I can use whatever products I want at any moment in time. So I end up using almost all the products. And I also think like, it's part of my job to know how these things work, because I'm not gonna work at Adams Polishes and be like, nope, you know what, this is the only product you need. You don't need anything else. I'm like, no, there's like very specific processes that are unique, and you guys get to pick which one you like the best. But for me right now, these are the ones I'm using based on what the temperature is, how sunny it is, all these different factors, stuff that I want to do, what my car looks like. So I'll dive deeper into this stuff on a different video, on a different live, because I think I literally could talk about ceramic coating maintenance for 12 hours because it's very confusing for people. And what I want to do is I want to kind of make a plan to like break it down for you a little bit easier, just to get a visual of like, do this or that, or, you know, maybe this or do all of these together, you know? So there's a lot of stuff to go with it. But I would say, just as like, if you're interested in that, listen up. What is your ceramic coating telling you? That video is very helpful. I think it's one of the best ones we put together as far as what to look for when you are needing to do maintenance on your ceramic coated vehicle. And by the way, it's real life scenario. It was my dad's truck. I ceramic coated his truck with the graphene advanced. He didn't do a single thing to it for 8 months. I mean, he might have washed it at the drive-through, but he's not the kind of guy that like gets out and washes the car every week. So it was like the perfect real life scenario because he also parks under a tree. So it had tree sap all over it. But it was like everything to go through to know what you need to do for maintenance is perfect on that video. Listen up. What is your ceramic coating telling you? Really good. So there you go. Sorry, I didn't answer a lot of questions, but this is probably more confusing now for you. I hope not. I think trying to like break it down more at its core. And like the one thing I will say with ceramic coatings is, you know, we talked about it earlier, like professionals did it from the very beginning because they had the knowledge and tools to be able to correct paint before you preserved it with ceramic coating. But now with the introduction of these spray coatings, you don't need to polish your car. Really what it has become is more of a tool than like a perfect paint preservation product. Okay, so if you off-road your car and you have pinstripes all over the side of your car, if you put the spray coating on, it makes cleaning it easier before you come back off the trails. Use it like that. There's no limitation of how you use ceramic coating. Okay, so I can talk about that more, but I hope today was at least interesting. Maybe not helpful, but interesting. So next week we're going to be doing the paint correction stuff. So I have a 2007 Toyota Tundra. I've seen it once. I cleaned the engine of it. That was it. But as far as like what I need to do paint correction wise, I have no idea. So next week we'll dive into that. You guys are going to do it live with me. We're all going to figure this out together. And maybe what I'll do is even like I'll do one section and I'll be like, okay, what do you guys think I should do next? Then you tell me, then I'll do that. And then I'll say, what do you think I should do next? But if anything, if you tell me one thing and I'm like, I don't know, I think we should do this, I might correct you guys. So sorry. But yeah, next week we're going to go through the paint correction journey together. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you.